In last week's video, we took a look at the 2024 recap for Lubbock's real estate market. And in this week's video, we're looking ahead to 2025 with both national and local forecasts of what we think the real estate market could look like. Before I get into the numbers, if you'll do me a favor, if you find this information useful, if you'll just click the like button below, as well as the subscribe button, because I am posting content more frequently. And if you find this information helpful, I want to make sure you don't miss out on future updates. With that said, let's get into the numbers and take a look at what we expect for 2025. So, we're going to cover three or four categories today: total home sales, interest rates, listing inventory, and home prices. And let's start with total home sales. We're going to look at a national perspective because it's important to have this perspective as we put it in context with Lubbock's market. I went back to 2019 for total home sales. In 2019, 2020, we're in the 5.5 million range. Of course, 2021 was a crazy year, 6.1 million, and then we started coming back to earth after that. Of course, rising interest rates have put pressure on the real estate market the past 2 years, 2023 and 2024. 2023, we ended up 4.2 million in home sales, and although the final numbers are not in yet for 2024, it's expected that we'll be about the same in 2024 as compared to 2023. Now, to give you some context, 2023 was the lowest home sales volume in 30 years. And when you factor in population growth over those 30 years, that was one of the most difficult real estate years we've ever had. And if 2024 ends up being about the same, which the numbers are tracking that direction, it makes these last 2 years really, really hard from a national perspective as far as the real estate market goes. Now, Lubbock's been a little bit different, fortunately. So going back to 2018 to give you some context, around 4,300 home sales back in 2018. Of course, we peaked at 5,500 home sales in 2021 during the crazy market, started coming back down to earth. And then in 2023, had around 4,500 home sales, 4,400 for 24, which in 24, if you put that in context, puts us between 2018 and 2019 numbers. So we certainly have not seen the pressure and retraction of the real estate market in Lubbock that the national market and other places have seen. We've been very fortunate in that regard. So while it seems doom and gloom when you hear a lot of the national news in Lubbock, we're not seeing that same doom and gloom. There has been pressure because of the amount of listing inventory. And one of the key differences between 23 and 24 versus 2018, 2019 is we've had about 500 more listings on the market than back in the 5 to 6 years ago, which is putting more pressure on home sellers to be honest about their home pricing. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. Of course, interest rates are what's really taxing the real estate market. So let's dig into those a little bit. Now, Zillow released a statement recently saying, given the volatility of mortgage interest rates over the past 2 years, it's impossible to predict where rates will land in 2025. Our best educated guess is that mortgage rates will be lower by the end of 2025 than they'll be at the start of the year, with the possibility of volatility in between. And we are already seeing that. Now, taking it back to the beginning of 2024 again, we started about 6.6 nationally for the 30-year conventional mortgage. Of course, May shot up to around 7%, started coming back down. We bottomed out in September, just over 6% average, and just started going back up. As of the recording of this video, we are at 7% starting this week. So the volatility that the previous statement stated is certainly still there in the overall interest rates. Now, as you look at Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers of America, and Wells Fargo, they're forecasting by the end of the year that we'll see mortgage rates somewhere in the 6 to 6.5% range. As you add other financial and real estate entities into the mix and take their overall average, it's projected around 6.3%. Again, that 6.25, 6.5% range. There's an outlier that thinks will be higher, in the 6.8 range and then a low 6.12. My personal expectations, we're going to be hovering around that 6.5% range most of this year. We could see some fluctuations down closer to 6.25, and we, as we're already seeing, could be up closer to 7. But I'm hoping as we get going into the year a little bit, hopefully we get some better economic numbers. We'll start seeing that average move closer to 6.5 and hover closer there for the remainder of the year. Just time will tell. Lawrence Yun, who is the senior economist for the National Association of Realtors, made this statement recently. Mortgage rates have averaged about 6% for the past 24 months. Buyers are no longer waiting for or expecting mortgage rates to fall substantially. Furthermore, buyers are in a better position to negotiate as the market shifts away from a seller's market. As we already showed you on the numbers, in sales numbers, It's true. We in Lubbock specifically, we're in a buyer's market, and while their rates are higher than what buyers would prefer, they do have more leverage from a concession negotiation standpoint to get more consideration to help them to get in a home, whether it's help with closing costs, rate buy downs, etc. So it's a good time for home buyers while the rates are higher and the home sales are a little more stressed to take advantage of that market to consider getting in a home or upgrading a home. Now, of course, rates will impact the listing inventory. Mike Simonin, from the founder of Altos Research, said that 2025 is poised to continue the trend of rising inventory across the country. We'll probably finish 2025 with 15% more homes available than we have now. Let me give some context to that. There are still pockets of the country where it's a seller-friendly market and it has been slowly transitioning. We began in a very buyer-friendly position last year in January and became more of a stronger buyer's market as the year went along. As I've been talking to my nationwide network of realtors across the nation into different areas of the country, what I heard early on last year was they were still in a seller-friendly to balanced position. But as we got to the end of the year, those same realtors were telling me that they were in a buyer's market, not as strong of a buyer's market in Lubbock, but they were definitely in a buyer's market. So nationally, many places are changing, but there are still pockets where it's still balanced a little bit seller friendly. I personally don't know if his projection will come to pass. I don't think we'll see that type of growth in Lubbock, but time will tell. But to give you some historical context for Lubbock, we started off last year around 1,200 active listings. We peaked out around 1,650 in October in the third quarter, going into fourth quarter, and then started coming down as the year ended. We finished about 1,335 homes in December on the market, and as of the recording of this video, we're about 1,330. So we're starting off the year with about 120, 130 more homes than we had last year. I don't know if we'll see that number tick up as high or not. Buyer activity will dictate that. It feels like the market's starting off with a pretty nice little clip in January, coming out of the holidays. But again, time will tell on there. If we see the numbers get back up to around 1,600 again, we will still remain in a stronger buyer's position than we are now. For context, if you go back to 2018, 2019, this time of year, we were normally sitting under 1,000 listings, closer to like 900 listings going in. So the main difference between now and 5 years ago is that we've got about 500 more homes on the market than we did starting the year. As we look ahead to home prices, of course, interest rates, inventory affect the home prices. Freddie Mac says we expect housing prices to continue to grow, although at a slower pace. Nationally, about 20 of the entities, when you combined the real estate and financial entities' expectations for home pricing forecasts, it averages out to about a 3% expectation in price growth this year. I don't know that we're going to see that in Lubbock, and we'll talk about that a little more specifically here. Again, going back to 2019, our average home price was around $209,000. We got up to around 2023 or 284, and then we have edged back just a little bit below that in 2024. So here's the net effect. From 2022 to 2023, we only saw about a 0.5% increase in home prices. And from 2023 to 2024, we saw about a 0.5% decrease in home prices. This is the first time since about 2011 or so that we've seen the average home price regress a little bit. Not substantially, but basically what it means is the last 2 years in Lubbock's real estate market, the average home price has been flat. I think that seeing and expecting to see a 3% growth, average growth this year is probably not in the cards for Lubbock. Although as you look back over the last 30 years, that's about our average annual appreciation rate. It wouldn't be totally out of the picture to see that. I just don't think it's likely based on the current market conditions. Now, I've given you a lot of information in a short amount of time. You may have some questions specific to your situation or your real estate plans. As always, we're happy to help you with any questions you have to help you decide if now makes any sense to make a move or not. Or if you just have general questions about how the market's affecting your price of your home, you have no plans, we're here for that too. Any way that we can serve you, we are here for you. So feel free to message me back if you have any questions. If you find this information helpful, you think someone else might need it, feel free to share it with them, and we'll continue with another update and talk to you soon.